We have a quorum, so let us get started. All right, let's call the meeting to order. It is 6:32. Welcome, everyone. Happy November Tuesday, 70 degrees. Life is good. First order of business is to review and approve the minutes. Is there a motion or any corrections on the minutes? Is there a motion to approve? All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. I am going to go in the order that you are on my screen. So Allison?
Yes.
Karen?
And approve.
Michelle?
Grants, yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
Beth?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
Irene?
Yes.
Bornstein approve. All right, minutes pass. Okay, so the next item is a wrap up of the training session. So this was the one.
Do you have to do your governor's spiel?
Oh yeah, I do. Thank you for reminding me. Let me remind you how the remote meeting procedures will work. In keeping with the ongoing emergency order from Governor Charlie Baker to limit gatherings and maximize social distancing, and under legislation passed to address remote board meetings during the emergency declaration, this meeting will be conducted remotely over Zoom. Attendance by all committee members will be remote, and remote attendance shall count toward quorum. The meeting will be broadcast live and recorded on ECAT. While conducting meetings remotely, we will endeavor to keep meeting operations as close to our standard procedures as possible. However, use of this platform will necessitate some additional meeting protocols. Number one, while the board members, town staff participants will be on video and audio, public participants will join the meeting muted and with no video feed. Number two, for meetings and when the chair solicits public comment, members in the Zoom webinar may submit a written question via the Q&A button, but you must include your full name and address for the public record. The chair reserves the right to discard comments submitted that are off topic or do not include name and address. Members of the public viewing the meeting on ECAT may submit questions in writing via email to Mike Blanchard, whose email is mblanchard@easton.ma.us. Chair reserves the right to respond to questions during the live meeting, but may limit the time for such activities. Any questions not addressed in the meeting may be answered afterwards via email and will be incorporated into the minutes of the meeting for the public record. All votes will be by roll call. When all business indicated on the agenda has been completed, the members will vote to adjourn the meeting, signaling the end of the meeting and the termination of the ECAT recording. Thank you for the reminder. Welcome, Stephanie. All right, so item B, this is the training session wrap up. So this was the Eliza Tallison training that Amy organized in October. I thought it was fantastic. I know a lot of you were on it as well. Does anyone want to share sort of their thoughts on the session?
I thought it was great. I participated with my kids. Yeah, it was, we had discussions after it. It was well run. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think there was good participation. I think when I looked at one point, there were almost 30 people, I think, participants-wise. So, and not just the number of people who dialed in, potentially could also, like Irene, have kids with them. So I think it was a good turnout.
It was really nice to see families too, actually there, and not just adults. And there was a lot of engagement between the chat and actual conversation, which was nice.
Agreed. Yeah, so I would certainly put Liza on a list to consider if we ever needed another speaker. I thought she did a terrific job and it was very well received. So props to Amy for organizing and coordinating that. All right. The next item is the religious observance calendar addendum. So we are just waiting on an update from Amy on the status of that. Michelle, do you know on your end through school committee if anything's come through yet?
I have not seen, since you mentioned about the update, I did ask Amy for an updated copy because I think at our last meeting, there were a couple tweaks to it.
Yeah.
And then I saw on the agenda tonight that there was another tweak. As soon as I can get an updated copy, I'll push it through.
Okay.
We have just been so busy with COVID stuff.
Yeah. Understandable.
But I will absolutely what is it we're waiting on? What is the addendum?
This was the weekend holidays. So the original calendar we had sent out was only weekdays, and then we had decided to include weekend holidays as well.
Does I need to come back to you guys before I can put it up on the website?
No, because we had approved the additions that were, I believe, at the September meeting, maybe October, but they've already been approved. So it was just a matter of Amy getting the clean version.
Okay, so I'll reach out to her.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. The Hrc messaging update. Allie, I think this is you. I think this was just our elevator, type of pitch. And I think the minutes said that you were just cleaning up whatever we had edited.
I think I sent it around them.
Did we already?
I'll double check. I think I sent it around the final version.
Okay. Yeah, let's do a double check. I don't think I had anything since the last meeting.
I don't either.
Okay, maybe it's in my outbox or my drafts.
Okay.
Sorry, I'll double check.
All
I
the
thought I
things
had sent
we
it.
mean to do. It's a long list. Okay, so that sounds good. All right, so while Allie's going to check that, next item is the winter listening session. So Beth, do you want to start on that while Allie's checking?
Sure. I think we're all set with the faculty member. Allison sent something out to just our allies to try to get more folks to participate in that kind of personal touch. At this point, we don't have a ton of people willing to kind of come forward. I know December is a tough month, so I just want to throw it back out to you all and what you might suggest so we can get somebody from the town who might want to participate of, the title Navigating Christian Holidays When You're Not Christian.
Have you talked to Masa?
You can.
If she was on the ally list.
Yeah.
I know she's really busy, but that might be someone that would be articulate and if she's willing to do it.
So I think at this point, if people have specific people in mind they think would be good to ask, let Beth know. And just so we don't have 11 people asking 11 different people at the same time. But, just kind of like give Beth or Allie or me a heads up and then go ahead and extend the invitation yourself. I think once we get the heads up and make sure that our bases are kind of covered.
So what exactly are we looking for?
I think just somebody to talk about their own, doesn't even have to be around Christmas, just what it's like to kind of navigate a very Christian-centric world as a non-Christian. So whatever religion or non-religious denomination one might be in, and what that is like growing up, or especially school holidays, things of that nature. So really just from that religious walk in your shoes perspective.
Do we think we would get a better response if we did it in January?
I don't know. I wonder if people just don't want to do it, period. It's an hour. So that's kind of my thought. Like, I don't know, we're all going to be back in COVID jail. So might as well have something to look forward to.
Are you looking for just one person, Beth? I was under the impression, or at least I thought maybe several different people.
Yeah, we'd love to have a few. I mean, okay. I think too, hold on, stop it. My dog, I have my food up here and my dog is just whining. So if you hear that, that's what it is. I would love to have at least 2, if not 3. We have one person who kind of came forward, but I think, you know, to shore up at least 1 to 2 more people, I think would be really good. I mean, Mary Joan can kind of make it as concise or as broad as we want it to be to cover space, but I do think that that personal aspect would be really important.
So tell us again about the person from Stonehill.
Sure, she's a religious scholar. So I think Allison sent around, I'm just looking for the email right now. When you can just look her up. She was actually my faculty member when I was a student. So her specialty is, hold on, I can give you exactly who she is.
I think the link I sent, Beth, was just from Stonehill.
Yeah, I just Googled her. She's been teaching at Stonehill since 1993, so I had her in 95. As a graduate of Harvard, she participated in archaeological excavations in Egypt, Tanzania, Syria, and Jordan. At Stonehill, she teaches courses on the Bible and the religion, history, and culture of ancient Near East and Greece. In addition, she offers a popular course on the Virgin Mary. She's taught a number of learning communities, including the Travel AC Pagans and Christians, and she travels all over the country, basically. Other places regarding Christianity, Judaism, and pagan Roman religion. She also teaches biblical Hebrew.
So Beth, what were you thinking in terms of the format of the listening session? So we would have Mary Jo kind of start off with maybe overview.
Yeah. So hold on, Allison actually had a really good synopsis, so hold on. Overview of the 3 major world religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Mary Joan, perhaps maybe 20 minutes total, highlight key similarities, highlight key differences. And then the next part would be perspectives from non-Christian Eastonites, and maybe 2, 3 max. That would give us another 30 minutes total. So maybe about 10 minutes each or 15 minutes each, depending on who. Brief introduction of themselves and the religion in which they identify, general thoughts and stories about their experiences as a non-Christian in Easton or even just growing up, any suggestions for others and how to navigate and what's worked for them, and any tips or resources if people want to learn about their specific religion.
Can you send that to all of us?
So it's really 10 to 15 minutes, really, is what we're asking for.
Yeah.
A 10 to 15 minute commitment. Okay.
Yeah. And if they want to be there when Mary Joan is there, great. And if not, that's fine too.
Can you send that to us so we could share it with people as we ask them if they're interested? Or I guess we're going to ask you guys. All right, never mind. We're supposed to send you names and you're going to ask them. Is that right?
Or I think it works if you know these people.
Mm-hmm.
I think to actually have you reach out makes more sense. I can let me just cut and paste this and I can send it to the group.
Beth, can you remind me, do we have a set date yet? Or was it just December in general?
And that's the thing, we want to be able to be flexible.
Okay.
The idea was once we had our speaker volunteers, we could sort of work to set it around their availability.
Okay.
Now, Craig, you had mentioned a clergy group the last time we met. Is that something maybe that should we maybe reach out to that group and see if they have any ideas on people who might want to volunteer for this?
Liz, did you talk to the rabbi about this? I know you had a conversation of some sort.
So I did initially, several iterations ago when we were still kind of brainstorming what the format and purpose of the session would be. So the short answer is he's happy to help out in whatever way that he can. I have not asked specifically for people. We can certainly do that. I think first, we can probably come up with some ideas on our own that will look fairly representative in terms of religion and age and gender, and are also people who are both well-spoken but can stick to a 10 or 15 minute time limit.
Okay,
and then
so maybe
I would go to the rabbi after that if we feel stuck, and maybe need some recruiting in an area.
Well, Allison, you sent it out to all our ally list and you didn't get a response?
we just got one response.
To be fair, I think people have been a little preoccupied with the election, so this might not have made it to the top of their list.
So, Liz, you don't think we should have the conversation with the rabbi and for him to have conversations with other religious leaders in the town? Or is that doesn't make sense? Or
Well, I view that more as advertising. And at the point when I initially spoke with the rabbi, we hadn't finalized anything that I could give him to share with the rest of the clergy group. What did you have in mind?
sharing the information that Beth and Allison are sending out and seeing if he could share that with his clergy colleagues and see if there are people who they know of, or maybe they want to speak. I bet you Adam would want to speak if you.
Right, but that's not the way the session is formed right now, because the session is to hear from people who don't identify as Christian about what it's like to be a religious minority. And the temple in Easton is the only non-Christian affiliated member of the clergy group.
He might know of some people that might be interested in speaking.
Okay, so we can certainly reach out if we feel like our own recruiting is a little incomplete.
What do people think about Kathy's suggestion? Maybe December is not the best time to do it.
I mean, I think topic-wise, it is. Sorry, I was just going to say, I think it's on point and on the timing works with the topic, right? Because it's navigating religions, and there are a lot of religious holidays that happen during December, or quite a few, I guess. But I see this argument for moving it to January too. I think people are really, really busy in December, usually. I don't know about this year. But I think it could also work in January.
I think it could work in January because it is after the holidays. You've already just experienced it. So it's sort of a nice time to reflect on what happened to you or how you felt about it, if you were not Christian in that Christian time. Of course, again, this year, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen over the holidays anyway.
Yeah, my only thought is that, if we've already secured having Mary Jo participate, I know that sometimes that can be challenging just from a coordination standpoint, and she's offered her availability to support it in December. And then, we just put out that message to people and the allies, so let's give it a chance and see who responds back. And maybe, in another week, if we determine that we don't, just because of scheduling, it becomes too challenging for folks, then we can revisit the date. But I would think at this point, we should try and aim for December. It's still only early November.
I think that makes sense, Karen.
I mean, I know there's somebody who I used to work with over in Bridgewater, but she doesn't live in Easton. And she identifies as a Wiccan. So, I mean, if that's something, if we're willing to extend, that might be pretty cool to listen to as well. I can reach out.
I think the more perspectives we can get, that's kind of the whole point.
Mm-hmm. I would say that still falls under the realm of our community, even though it's not necessarily Easton. For sure.
So it sounds like at this point, anyone who's thinking of someone right now, like this person would be a good person to speak, right? Send those names to Beth or Allie or myself, just so we have sort of a centralized list and the right number of people and kind of the right broad representation instead of everyone kind of fitting into one identity bucket. And then if you can do that, probably let's say within the next week, and that way, we'll have a sense of what our possibilities are and then kind of give people a go ahead to go reach out to that person, and we can start recruiting from that point. Does that sound like a reasonable time frame?
Yeah, I think that works. And if you folks are fine with extending a little bit, I can reach out to the person who I'm thinking of as well and just gather her thoughts. She has a somewhat of a newborn, but she might welcome the break.
All right, sounds good. Any other questions or planning we need to hammer out now for the listening session? All right.
Just to circle back, I just resent the final version of the elevator pitch to everybody.
Okay.
Liz,
I'm
I
not
just
sure.
had sorry, I just
Yeah,
had a
go
question
ahead.
too, not relevant to that, but was RMK or Kelly supposed to come to this meeting tonight?
I saw
got it.
I saw that email from Denise.
Okay,
Karen was part of a conversation with them, so I think when we get to the end, she can fill in a little bit. I have my eye on the attendees, and I don't see them in here yet.
yeah, she told me to just text her a little bit before, so I just wanted to make sure that that was part of the agenda, and I'll text her in a few minutes to join in.
Yeah, we're getting close to the other stuff, so. Okay, we good? Allie, do we need to vote on your? No, because we already approved it at the last meeting, so this is just for the record.
We did.
So that's all set. Great. Select board update. So I zoomed into a select board meeting a couple weeks ago and gave them an update. And, you know, the select board was very supportive and enthusiastic and really wants to be an ally with the HRC's mission as much as possible. So it was really nice to hear that reaffirmed from the select board. They were interested in always in what we have done. So it was a good periodic update and one we will do again, probably in about 6 months or so. Anything you want to add, Craig?
Oh, I thought you did a very nice job, and I agree that my colleagues were invested and supportive and encouraging. It definitely, particularly Dottie is very, very much on board. And if she weren't so darn busy, she'd probably sit in on many more of our meetings.
Yeah. Good. All right. So in other action items, RMK, I think, is going to pop in a little bit. One thing, while we wait for them to pop in, one thing that came up was the application for the Cultural Council grants has been extended this year through mid-December. So we tend to apply every year and use this money for our NRT project. So it's an interesting opportunity to think about what we might apply for this year, what we could do that the grant possibly could help us out with if we're approved.
Is the town doing anything over the holidays?
Like the holiday parade?
Yeah, or,
I don't
think that's going to happen this year.
yeah.
no, I don't, I just wonder if they had a virtual version or something that they thought they might do.
I saw a sign for the virtual Festival of Trees. I don't know if people have seen that. I'm not really
Yeah,
sure
I
what
saw
that
that sign
entails.
too.
Yeah. Something that Karen and I had tossed around a little bit would be moving from statements which we've been issuing for the last couple years, sort of in solidarity or in opposition as appropriate to certain events, to possibly something where we can create some kind of like sticker or decal that businesses or residents could put in their window showing that they support the mission of the Human Rights Committee. And that could possibly fit under the Cultural Council grant to fund, or in this case, maybe reimburse the creation and distribution of that.
Yeah, I was thinking more about this. You know, it could be kind of a fun art activity that we could put out potentially even to the schools. If we could possibly get some interest there. There's some great art programs throughout the schools. I know OA has an amazing art program. And if people wanted to even submit ideas for what this kind of symbol could be that could kind of build some interest as well, just from the school standpoint. And I don't know about your kids, but it's all about, you know, Redbubble and stickers on laptops or stickers on water bottles and things like that. So I think, you know, we could almost kind of create some kind of fun piece of this, a millennial twist on our statements, but then also, as Liz mentioned, too, being able to distribute to organizations and businesses throughout the town, and potentially, you know, beyond our town, if we can get enough momentum and interest around it. So that was just kind of the initial thought, but would be interested in what you guys think around that.
I think that sounds great. It's a really nice way for us to advertise who we are. You know, to get in there and let people know. And if you did some kind of art contest, that would be even better, because that would give even a bigger audience to listen to us.
And to read our mission
Right.
in our elevator pitch.
Yes,
Exactly.
I
Michelle,
like the idea too.
Michelle, do you think that the schools would partner with us on that?
Well, I absolutely do. I mean, I can't speak for them, but I can't see why they wouldn't. They love doing that kind of thing. I know we used the art department when Tempo was coming up with a new, I'm drawing a blank on the word, but emblem.
Logo.
Thank you. Logo, that's the word. And we made it like a contest. I don't know if that's something we can do, but it was definitely something that they like to do. So yeah.
So
Figure out what we want that to look like. I can bring it back to the schools.
okay. I mean, I think it would be great to just outsource it to the community, but certainly with a focus on the schools and the existing art programs, as well as the existing clubs, particularly at the middle school and the high school, that are focused on the same kind of diversity awareness focus as the committee. That seems like an easy place to start. Okay. Karen, maybe you and I can coordinate with Michelle to draft some language to then hopefully get it out. I can look into the grant language to see timing wise if it still works to put this under a grant, kind of what fiscal year it's covering.
Yeah, and I'll coordinate with RMK, because I know both Kelly and Denise were very interested in this outreach potential. You know, we've talked about just in general, just HRC statements and things like that. So kind of a twist on statements, but I think it'll carry a little bit more power, I think, in our message and what we're trying to get across in a fun way, and potentially have a even further reach, which would be pretty cool. Okay.
I have Denise in the waiting room right now, so that is a good segue. Denise, welcome. You are free to talk. Or not. Let's see.
Look for her line just unmuted.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Hi, how is everybody?
Hi,
Oh,
Denise.
Denise.
Yeah, I caught the tail end of this art contest, which I think is a fantastic idea. We had talked about doing a community art project, piggybacking DJ Henry Day for Diversity. I didn't hear if there was a theme for your art project, if it was just around diversity. Or you have
Kind of countering some of these, I just think in general, just opportunities for some additional unity across the town, maybe countering some of the challenging, divisive messaging that's been going on, just kind of associated with maybe the election and a lot of the other activities happening. So yeah, really just being able to kind of also speak further around our mission and vision for, for the Human Rights Committee, as well as RMK and many of the other groups that are forming right now to help kind of support this message.
We are on board, whatever we need to.
Thanks, Denise.
You're welcome. Okay. All right.
Is there
so
anything else? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I thought you said I was next, so I was just going to get started.
Yes, please.
Okay. So I know Karen was with us when we had the meeting last week, but I'm guessing that no one else is aware. Oh, Craig was with us too, right? Stephanie, were you there? Irene, were you there? Okay.
I
All right.
wasn't, no.
Okay. So there, a family, a mom in Easton brought to our attention that there were these stickers that were placed in certain locations, 4 of them in the Easton area. These stickers belong to a hate group called Patriot Front. These stickers have arrows on them and sort of pointing in a direction. And there was one that was found at the Ames Free Library with the sticker pointing towards her place of establishment. So Patriot Front is a hate group that was actually run by a 19-year-old young person who recruits young students, college age and high school age. When we had our discussion, we did not want to bring attention to Patriot Front because we did not want to give them any more attention than they currently had. We discussed counteracting that in a positive way throughout our community, which would be to work with the Human Rights Committee, and Karen, interject at any time if you'd like to speak, or Craig, working with the Human Rights Committee to put together a proclamation that states that we will not tolerate hate or racism of any kind in our town. There was a proclamation that was put together by the town of Bridgewater that many establishments have hanging, and I can actually show that if you'd like to see it. But this proclamation, there are establishments in Bridgewater that have.
Sorry, Denise, I changed your status so you can share your screen if you have it available.
Okay, you can hear me again?
Yeah.
All right, let me just get to where it is. Okay, I'm hoping you can see this because I put it on an email. Oh. So I have it on an email message, so I'm hoping you can see it at least a little bit. But it talks about taking a stand to eliminate racism, and it's a pledge. And you know, anyone involved or any establishment involved in this pledge could either have a copy of it or download it and just hang it in their establishment, just to make the community aware that we stand in unity and that we are not going to tolerate any type of racism in the town. Do you have any thoughts on that or any questions, or Karen or Craig, anything you want to mention?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I would add here, Denise, is maybe this is an opportunity to almost kind of coincide the two activities that we were talking about. So the art project potentially and this proclamation, I mean, if you think about the potential for us to kind of reword this and kind of make it kind of specific to our community, and then at the end where I see kind of that symbol down below with the 2 hands and the heart, if we were to think about this opportunity to create some momentum around putting together a symbol for us, that might be pretty significant. So, where we could, if people wanted to learn about what that symbol was about, they could, begin to kind of eventually would find this proclamation. But, in terms of widespread sharing, it would be kind of pretty easy to share a symbol and kind of create our own stickers, you know, kind of back to what you were talking about a little earlier around maybe how millennials are sharing messaging or symbols across different platforms. That might be pretty powerful if we could, you know, create our own symbol here and then figure out a way to market it. So I'm wondering if the two projects can coincide.
I think that's a fantastic idea.
And that seems to, I would think, make the most sense. That if we have somebody who wanted to put that in the window and also have that, you know, they usually have that bulletin board. Thinking like Crystal's Kitchen, I think has one. It's it's behind.
I guess my question would be, I mean, it'll take us a while to get this logo or whatever, you know, symbol developed. And I don't know if you guys are looking at a statement, a more current statement than that.
Yeah, do you mean have this distributed prior to the time that the art contest would happen?
Right, because it'll take, you know, 3 or 4 months, I would assume.
Yeah.
Denise, was it brought to the police's attention, this presence
yes.
of hate group stickers?
Yes, she contacted the police, she contacted the FBI, she contacted the ADL, and she contacted everyone she could possibly contact me. She made me cry. She was so upset that, you know, this was happening. And, you know, I like I said, I don't want to bring more attention to Patriot Front, but if you do look them up on the internet, you will see, you know, what they're about and how dangerous they may be. And so her concern is very, very, very clear. She did want a statement to come from the town, but then we were informed that the Human Rights Committee is really the town's voice in this type of a situation. So that's why we're here.
What was the Easton Police's response?
I think he took a report and said that they cannot act on something unless something was actually happened to her or, you know, at her establishment.
Where were the other stickers?
She said there was one on Main. Well, this one is where the Ames Free Library, that's North Main or Main? So
North Main.
Okay, so Ames Free Library, there was one on North Main. And then she said there was one on Main, one or two of them on Main. And then she went to somebody's house who was a biracial couple that the sticker was across the street from their house to sort of inform them what this sticker stood for and that the arrow was pointing towards their house as well. But she did mention, other than those two, that there was one near a church and one near a synagogue. But I don't know, like, exact location.
There was also one, Denise, from a different group across from the back entrance to the high school. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was the Defend the Police sign.
And Your Police, I think it's called?
Yeah, Defend Your Police. That one, yes. That one was on Randall, behind the high school. And that was found by somebody else. It was a different member of RMK who found the Defend Your Police sign. When we went online on the Defend Your Police sign, it was sort of a little more difficult to navigate through and actually find, you know, the verbiage or the information around hate. But when you go to Patriot Front, it's right in front of you.
And the stickers were placed on what?
They were placed on public poles, like, you know, a yield sign, or they were placed on public structures. But they were poles, not like buildings or anything. Like the back of a sign that might say yield or whatever.
Okay. Right. Because obviously that makes a difference if it's on public property compared to someone's yard sign on private property.
Yeah, no, the stickers themselves were on those public posts.
Right.
This Defend Your Police sign
Mm-hmm.
that was on Randall's, it was on, looked like either a telephone pole or maybe a tree, but it was at the edge of someone's driveway, right where their mailbox is. So it was hard to know whether that was someone's personal sign at the end of their driveway or whether somebody posted it there.
Okay.
One of the difficulties there were 3 members of the select board at the meeting. And one of the difficulties is that is a quorum of the select board, so that we were not in a position to be able to articulate our strong feelings at that time, because it would be an open meeting law violation in the event that we have to vote on something that would be discussed. But I know that all of us I can't speak for all 3 of us, but I can speak for myself that we were very much taken by Kristen's story, her angst, her fear, particularly around her young son riding his bike to school, and she didn't want him to do that, and it was very she was very passionate, and I got a little teary-eyed too as I was listening to it. So I can identify, Denise, with that, and I think that it's important. And Dottie was real clear. Our arm for diversity and anti-racism is the Human Rights Committee, in cooperation with groups like RMK, the Old Colony Y, churches, synagogues, whatever. But that's really the arm that should be, pushing this agenda, and that we, as members of the select board, I can almost guarantee you will be very supportive. And as individuals, we're allowed, we can speak on our own behalf and how we feel about these kinds of issues.
Just to add a little bit of context too about Kristen is she's had the We Believe signs and Black Lives Matter signs. She's had her signs stolen 4 times in front of her establishment. And she has a Black son. She is vocal about, Black Lives Matter and the safety and anti-racism. And she's actually done an interview for the paper. So, she feels like her face is out there, and that, she feels a little bit threatened at this point because of where that sticker was.
Yeah, and so we talked about statements, and again, I don't want to take away from the importance of putting out a unified statement and showing what, as the Human Rights Committee and what we stand for the town and for our mission and vision as well. But we talked about how a statement would be great, but a proclamation is so much more powerful, I think, and to also then get the interest from business owners throughout the town to also be able to help kind of share the message with us. So I think what we talked about was that, it would be great to be able to move forward with a proclamation and then, be able to kind of really articulate what we want to incorporate into that proclamation. We have some examples, I think, from the towns of Plymouth and West Bridgewater, surrounding towns that have actually put out pretty comparable messaging that we could utilize as a starting point, but to really kind of cater it to our community. So I do think that that's a great, I think it's a great initiative. I think we could partner with RMK to think about what that proclamation would look like and begin to start to formulate that. I do like the correlation with this art opportunity, because I feel like it's almost, if you think about it, it's in direct kind of contrast to some of the stickers that we're seeing that are causing the problems, right? Or that they're trying to send a message and we're trying to send a completely opposite message. And so I feel like it's somewhat powerful in itself I do agree with Kathy though that we run the risk of timing, right? And I don't think we want to wait months to be able to put out a proclamation. I think it would be great to kind of time it if we can try and get things moving, to aim to try and put out the proclamation in the beginning of the year, you know, almost like it's a fresh year, a fresh start, you know, put some kind of momentum behind that. But it would take us kind of getting our act together to get the art project going and get that communication moving, as well as then a commitment of when we would need to make a decision on the logo, and then, you know, printing and distribution.
Obviously, I can't speak for Alicia and Chrissy, but I'm, you know, I'm 100% sure they'll be on board, you know, and I do feel that, you know, we just had DJ Henry Day at the high school, and we've talked about launching different initiatives, social justice initiatives, from that event. And I think that Felicia and Chrissy would be completely on board with doing this. And I don't know how backlogged the art, you know, program is. Are you thinking on our project from grades like K through 5, similar to the water? But they do the water art project. That's grades 3 through 5, right?
Yeah.
Yes, they do. Yeah. I was actually thinking the high school, only because I've seen some of the, and because the high school has the ADL training, I know that they have some efforts underway. They were very heavily involved in the DJ Henry Day, I know, because my daughter is part of that as well.
Mhm.
And because my other daughter does art, and I've seen some of the work that they do, and it's really very impressive for high school students. So I thought maybe just, you know, that might be a great opportunity to tap into the school. So
If we
what
could pull
if
it all
we said,
together,
let's,
I'm sorry. I think if we could pull it all together by January, that'd be fabulous.
We do have some
Yeah,
model
let's say we
language
aim
from
for
the
that.
last couple Lions Club festivals when we would do things in December, sort of taking our language like I pledge for the new year to do a lot of things, which are basically part of our mission. So I think we have a template for that. And just so it's unequivocally clear, Denise, I mean, it is abhorrent to hear that this type of activity is happening in Easton, but not surprising. No communities are immune. So like anything with hate groups, it's the tough balance between making sure people are aware of what's going on in their community without giving unnecessary advertising and megaphone to the groups to, you know, amplify their message. And that is always the tough line to draw right there. You know, we would certainly encourage the mom who came to you to continue going to the police to report every single incident she might find that any community member finds in Easton. The police need to know when these incidents or stickers or pamphlets, whatever it might be, if they show up in the community, the police need to know.
Agreed. And so, yes, so in order not to amplify these hate groups, that's why we felt also that this proclamation would be perfect, because we are doing the complete opposite. We are not amplifying them. We are amplifying the fact that we pledge to stand together as a community.
Exactly, right? And we need to amplify the positive values that Easton stands for, the inclusiveness and awareness and appreciation for diversity that we have in the town and that we want to emphasize.
I like focusing on the high school, like Karen's saying too, because especially if this group is run by or founded by a young adult, I think getting kind of the teens and future young adults involved with counteracting that message might be powerful.
That's a really good point.
So maybe Denise, you and I and Kelly can kind of talk offline about kind of how we would go about just interacting with the schools, see if we could kind of have a liaison or a point of contact to kind of get that art project going. Liz, it sounds like from the ECC opportunity, you know, potentially for once we do kind of land on a logo to help us with that ordering of stickers, and I would assume that we need some sort of budget to help support that piece. And then, from the proclamation standpoint, I can take a first draft, and maybe Allie, you and I can work on what that might look like from a communication standpoint. And we can work with RMK as well if they have input there.
Yeah.
That sounds like a plan. Get it going. And then our goal will be to get this issued in January. And we'll hopefully come back in December with a strong update on where we are.
I think you could also include in the grant, the ECC grant, printing of the proclamation. If you could post in different places. And I think also if we need to get together, or at least we should communicate in the meantime. Sometimes having a meeting only once a month kind of makes things go slowly. So figuring out how to make that go a little more quickly to meet a January deadline.
We'll make ourselves available to you whenever you need.
I'm happy to help in any way too, Karen.
All right, so
Excellent, thank you.
Kathy, maybe you and I can take a look at the grant application.
Sure.
Yeah, just to make sure timing and content and stuff fits in. And any communication that happens in between our monthly meetings does not violate open meeting law because we don't do any deliberations, and the actual deciding and determining happens at our meetings. So we can plan in between our meetings.
Another source of funding is the Stonehill money that was just recently given to Easton. Half of it has been allocated, but the other half is open, as you know, Liz, in the past. And one of the things that they did talk about with Connor and with Dottie was about diversity and racial justice. So it might fit perfectly to come to the town for that funding if the other grant is the timing's not right, or because that money is there now.
Well, that's great. And that's what we tend to use anyways, because the ECC grant works as a reimbursement and less as an outright funding for most of the timing. So, okay, that's helpful to know for our planning purposes.
I can help navigate that if people are interested.
Great. Excellent. All right, any other points on this topic? Questions for Denise? Denise, anything else you want to add?
No, I thank you for your time.
All right, thank you for bringing this to the committee, Denise.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right.
Yeah, Denise.
Bye now.
All right. Any other action items people want to bring up, discuss? All right, people seem good. We do not have any public for public participation. So let's just confirm our next meeting. I have down as December 1st, because we had at one point said the first Tuesday of the month. So that's only 3 weeks away, but if we have this December 14th deadline, and if we're planning possibly the listening session for December, it might be helpful to meet sooner rather than later. So we'll keep it at the 1st then for our next meeting. Any objections?
For some reason, I'm looking at my schedule and I'm seeing, and this could have been put in the wrong date, but I'm seeing a select board meeting that night.
Okay.
I'll have to check Liz. We may have done it for, I'm not sure exactly. Oh, I know why. Because I think the 30th is
there's a
town
special
meeting.
town meeting or something, right?
Town meeting is the 30th, so that's
Yeah.
why we're probably going to meet the day after.
Okay, so that might also affect our ability to meet if a select board meeting is happening that night, sort of Zoom capacity wise as well. So I will check with Mike Blanchard to see if meeting on the 1st is still possible. If it's not, we could opt to move it to a different day that week, or we could just do the second Tuesday of the month. Any opinions?
Second Tuesday is okay for me.
I just think if we're trying to really get together this proclamation and this art thing and this listening session, you might need to meet at the beginning. So I would go for the Wednesday.
You're saying the second?
Yeah.
I cannot make
do
the
it.
second.
Yeah, I
Okay.
cannot make the second either.
Okay.
I'm not able to either. Maybe the Thursday?
I can't, Shelley's actually getting operated on, so the best day for me that week is the 1st. Other than that, I'll pretty much be out.
All right, so I will aim for the 1st, and if the 1st is not possible on the town end, then we will go with the following Tuesday, the 8th. And then Craig either can join us or cannot join us, or we'll maybe adjust our time slightly, which again may have to do with the town's capacity to run the Zoom meeting. Okay. All right. Anything else anyone wants to bring up? All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All right. Meeting is adjourned at 7:28. Nice to see you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.